Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. This is a very cunning business plan. I'm not impressed with what they're doing, but I'm impressed with the way they're doing it. This is UAS Sentry. Now, I saw this site on a stream that was broadcast by Sean from Geeks Vana this morning. And the more I look at it, the more I realize just how clever the people behind UAS Sentry are. I don't know that I agree with their ethics, but as a business model, this is a winner. These people are going to make a fortune. And you might ask, how are they going to do this? What is UAS Sentry? Well, I'll try to keep this video short. I'll put a link to Sean's video in the description of this one. Go and have a look at that. And I'll put a link to the website that you're looking at now also in the description of this video. So you can look at both of them. But just to try and get it in a nutshell, we know that one of the key components of remote ID is surveillance. The FAA showed us in their video that they finally came clean and admitted that, yeah, we're going to be watching you and recording you and so forth. One of the problems is that, of course, the USA is a very big country. And so to get nationwide coverage would cost a lot of money. Now, the FAA has handed over quite a sizable chunk of cash to ANRA to set up some remote ID listening stations, but they'll be focused in areas where the government wants to make sure the drones are behaving properly, areas of high interest, strategic value. So they're not going to be probably down at your local schoolyard. However, what UAS Sentry have done is they've come up with a plan so cunning. I don't know. I can't explain how cunning it is, but bear with me. Let me explain what happens here. Now, we know that the media has portrayed drones as evil and dangerous and a threat to your security and your safety and everything else. It's created a certain amount of paranoia within the community. Fear and paranoia, in fact. And so UAS Sentry is capitalizing on that fear and that paranoia. And they're basically going to use the Karens of the world to build a remote ID surveillance network for them. Brilliant! How are they going to do that? Well, they've got these little devices here. Here's, for example, the Sentry Ultra Portable. It's got nearly a 2-inch color screen. It's got a 3-hour battery life. It connects to the cloud. And it is designed to listen out for drones broadcasting a remote ID signal. Yeah, that's not the only one, though. Down here, we've got the Sentry Touchscreen Pro. And that's another device that listens out for remote ID signals from drones. Now, these things, they connect to your internet through Wi-Fi, and so they're being sold to the Karens and the businesses of the world on the basis that you need protection against rogue drones. Rogue drones are going to steal your data. They're going to spy on you in the kitchen, in the bathroom, in the bedroom. You need to be protected. And of course, there are a lot of people out there who will believe this crap. They'll think, oh yes, we've read the papers. We know what these drones are capable of. We must protect ourselves. So they'll go out and buy these devices, because what these devices will do is listen out for drones, and they enable you to sort of set up an alarm boundary. And if a drone comes past that boundary, according to the remote ID signals, then this device will alert you. It'll send a warning to your smartphone, which will say, look out, hide your women and children, here comes a drone, prepare for the worst. So the Karens and the businesses that are paranoid will spend money to buy these devices to protect themselves. What they don't realize is that they're actually expanding. Every time they buy one of these devices, turn it on, they've added a node to UAS Sentry's increasingly large network of surveillance points for drones. Yeah, because when this device picks up a drone or drones, it not only keeps an eye on them to make sure that they're not going to enter your exclusion zone, but it sends that data back to the cloud-based servers that UAS Sentry use. You know how Flight Radar 24 works. You get your little app on your phone or on your computer screen. You can see airplanes all over the world, because each little receiver node sends the data back to a central server where it's organized into a nice database. That's what is going to happen with UAS Sentry. People are going to pay good money to buy these devices because they're being told that this will protect you. The reality is this device is there to act as an entry point to the UAS Sentry surveillance network. So if you think about it, if you wanted to set up your own surveillance network, it would cost you an arm and a leg. First of all, you've got to manufacture the receiving devices. They're going to cost money. Then you have to find a place to locate them. They have to house them somewhere. That's going to cost money. You have to power them. That costs money. You have to connect them to the internet. That costs money. So when you're looking at a network with thousands and thousands of receiver nodes, it is a phenomenally large amount of money, something that only the government could really afford until UAS Sentry came along, because every Karen that buys one of these things is not only extending the reach of the UAS Sentry network, but is also putting money into their bank account. Because if we have a look at these products, let's go to purchases. Here we go. This is the mid-range one, the touchscreen UAS Sentry. It costs $700. Not a lot to ask for peace of mind and protection from rogue drones, so people will buy it. Karens will buy it. I would bet you that inside that orange box, there's about maybe $70 worth of electronics. So they're making a 1,000% margin on the component cost. Yeah, there's development costs that have to be amortized, but easily they're selling this thing that the margins on this would be $500. They're making $500 per device. So every time a Karen buys one of these, not only are they making $500 profit in the bank, but they're getting another node on their network for which they don't have to pay for the electricity, for the internet connection, for the housing. It's all provided by the Karen. So the Karens, out of their fear and paranoia and hysteria, are going to be building this network for UAS Sentry. And trust me, within a very short space of time, this network will be the largest drone surveillance network in the country. And it will have very wide coverage. Look at what they're claiming for this device. Close to 30 square miles of coverage. And that's just the mid-range one, 30 square miles. There's a more capable one down here. For another $150, you can get an aerial on the side. That's a damn expensive aerial. And that will give you 70 square miles of coverage. Now, even in a large city, you don't need many of these to completely cover the area of that city, the populated areas. Even if you go out to the countryside, if every farmhouse has one of these, because they want to protect themselves from rogue drones that might be spying to find out where the tractors are or the stock are so that someone can come and steal them in the dark of night, then even with one in every farmhouse, you're going to cover a huge amount of even the rural areas. So UAS Sentry are building an incredibly valuable network and making money in the process. No startup money required. The people, the Karens and the businesses buying these things are funding that network. And even the poorest Karen is catered for because they have the ghetto version here, the ultra portable, which is just smaller. And it's only $450. So, I'm sure even the poorest Karen concerned about, being spied on in the bedroom, in the bathroom, she'll find the money to buy one of those. And that's another node in the UAS Sentry drone surveillance network. It's a fantastic business model. It is brilliant, but I think it's unethical because it preys unreasonably on people's hysteria, their paranoia, their fear of drones. However, I fear that it's going to very quickly become the largest drone surveillance network in the country. And that is a worry because the data that's being collected by this network is incredibly valuable. Incredibly valuable. For example, why would the FAA bother to continue to grow their own surveillance network when, if this thing takes off, as I expect it will, they can simply say, UAS Sentry, we would like to buy access to your network. Here is $1 million a year. So that's how valuable the data is, maybe even more than that. Then there are commercial interests. You want to spy on your competitor? You're a commercial drone operator. You want to see what your competitor's doing, where they're flying, how often they're flying, who they're flying for? Hey, you go to UAS Sentry and say, I'd like all the details on when these drones were flown, please. All the flight logs for these drones. And you give them the remote ID numbers for all your competitors' drones. And they will give you back a log that shows every time those drones are operated. And you pay them a huge amount of money for that privilege. How will you get the numbers to identify your competitors' drones? Well, that's simple. You just wander up when they're flying one day with your remote ID app, and it will tell you what the number of that drone is. Publicly available information through the remote ID app. It's pretty tragic, really. Anyway, I'd like to thank Sean from Geeksvana for making this, showing me that this site existed. And I'm going to put a link to Sean's video in the description, a link to the website in the video. Go and have a look, see what you think. I was going to make a longer video on this, but I think I've just basically covered the bases here. This is a fantastic business model, and I think they will make a lot of, if they manage it properly, they'll make a lot of money, but it's really going to massively increase the level of surveillance that anyone who has remote ID on their drone is subjected to. And it's not surveillance controlled by government, it's private enterprise. So the data they collect will be for sale to whoever wants to pay for it. Think about that. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.
Overregulation is like a tumor. It's killing our hobby. It must be terminated. Now!